Hey everybody, it's Sweetsa here at Emanate. Welcome back to another Mindful Monday. Today's topic is triggers part 2. So just a little reminder of the definition of a trigger. A trigger is something that sets off a memory or an old tape that transports you back to an original shame or trauma. Triggers offer you a clear insight into areas where you need more self-awareness or healing. I like to say it's a place where you could use a little extra love. So your brain is wired with a lot of repetitive, conditioned thinking. So the more you think a certain thought, the more that thought carves a pathway in your brain. So that it almost becomes like speedy highways. That's actually why it becomes harder to choose another path. It's like Hebb's law, if you've ever heard that. It's neurons that wire together fire together, right? Based on his law, it takes 66 repetitions to even thicken a neuron in the brain. So ultimately, to change your behavior, it actually takes a lot of work. So when you realize your reaction is not matching the issue at hand, there's a possibility that you are triggered. So what you ultimately want to do is begin to build a new neural pathway in the brain by beginning to notice when your reaction doesn't match the issue at hand. Right? So it's asking yourself, why do I feel this way? Why does this bother me so much? One thing that often supports helping you build different neural pathways in the brain and helping you become more self-aware around your triggers is really to plop them into bigger categories so that you're able to notice them and label them to help support the change of behavior. So some of those categories can be security, fairness, trust, autonomy. So in today's video, we're going to talk about autonomy. So autonomy is the feeling of control over one's environment, whether it's perceived or real. So it's basically having choice over what you're doing. Now, if you grow up in an environment where your autonomy was compromised, where you didn't have choice in a situation, where you were shamed anytime you made a decision on your own, you may have developed a learned helplessness or even an aversion to making decisions. You might rely on a lot of people to do that for you, unconsciously, of course. So again, if you grew up in a place where you didn't have much choice and people decided things for you, fast forward to being an adult and you get a new boss, and this new boss wants to collaborate with you and have you be involved in goal setting and choice making about whatever initiative is going on in the organization. You may find yourself triggered around some of this because you're not used to actually making decisions or involving yourself. You may be exhibiting behaviors like blaming the boss, that he's not good enough, that he doesn't know how to decide, right? You might find yourself even more stressed at work. You can also even find yourself shutting down. In addition, autonomy can also function in the opposite way. So for example, if you grew up in an environment where you were actually the one who made all the choices, that you never had to ask anyone for anything, so you were basically the decision maker. So fast forward to adulthood, you have a new boss who needs you to get some things done for them and doesn't really ask your opinion on them, and you may find yourself triggered. You may be saying things like, that boss never asks us for anything. Does he really know what he's doing? And you might find yourself really stressed out because you're used to actually making choices and being involved in things. And you actually might respond in the opposite way. So instead of shutting down, you might become more boisterous and voice your opinion. So one of the takeaways here is the lack of or too much autonomy can actually be a trigger for you. And the solution is not to actually change your colleagues or your boss or your partner, but it's really to bring a level of self-awareness within. A lot of the times we think relationships are put in place to make us happy or make things more convenient. But the reality is people are placed upon our path to increase our level of self-awareness. They're really put there to make us more awake. So when you find yourself being triggered, whether it's about your autonomy, your security, your trust, it's important to notice it. Ask yourself why you're feeling that way and why it's bothering you. And ultimately, practice on changing your response to it to begin to build a different neural pathway. So I hope that helps. Emanate your best selves. Till next time.